good evening and welcome along to San Siro. It is Coppa Italia Frecciarossa quarter-final action this evening as Milan entertain Lazio. Two sides that have frequently crossed swords in the Italian Domestic Cup in recent years. There are the travelling supporters up from the capital. The Biancocelesti know this is very much a feasible competition for them to win. They've proven as much in recent years. Milan's drought in the Coppa Italia is nigh on 20 years, meanwhile. Their main goal is to lift the Scudetto, but certainly winning is a habit and a good one to get into, which is why Stefano Pioli has named a strong side tonight and is keen to maintain the momentum that the Rossoneri built up by beating Inter in the derby. Lazio themselves come to San Siro in top form after winning 3-0 at the Franchi against Fiorentina. Both of these sides made a bit of a meal of their previous fixture in the Coppa Italia. The round of 16 saw Milan just about edge out Genoa and Lazio just about get past Udinese. But the prize on offer tonight is a meeting with Inter. Either way, that will be a mouth-watering two-legged semi-final. It will either be Simone Inzaghi, the Inter head coach, up against his former employers, or it will be two more editions of the Derby della Madonnina, which was so entertaining in Serie A on Saturday night. But this evening, the attention switches to the Coppa Italia. Nice reception there for Stefan Radu from Alessio Romagnoli. Radu, a legend for Lazio, but seeing very little playing time these days since the arrival of Maurizio Sarri, as he moves towards the end of his career. But the Milanisti have had a smile on their faces ever since those 2 goals in 3 minutes from Olivier Giroud on Saturday evening snatched the derby away from Inter and opened up the title race. 3 teams can legitimately dream. As for the Coppa Italia, there are more than that. Inter knocked out Roma. Tonight, one of Milan and Lazio will prevail, and then 2 more ties to come tomorrow evening. Atalanta up against Fiorentina, Juventus entertaining Sassuolo. Just a watching brief for Salamakers, Maldini and Florenzi to begin with. But a good turnout at San Siro, plenty of interest in this Milan side. And the Italy head coach is here, Roberto Mancini, having a word with Paolo Maldini, the head of the technical area for the Rossoneri. Plenty of potential recruits for Mancini to cast his eye over. Lele Oriali there too, who is the team manager of the Azzurri, and who knows this stadium very well from his past association with Inter. After Milan's stunning win over Inter, the Rossoneri are keen to set up another 2 installments of the Derby della Madonnina by dispensing with Lazio. The Biancocelesti, however, have great recent pedigree in the Coppa Italia, and this is a trophy Maurizio Sarri's side are seriously targeting. The second of 4 quarter-finals. Once again, we're back at San Siro. Milan looking to set up a 2-legged semi-final with Inter. Lazio out to play party poopers. Stefano Pioli, once of Lazio, Maurizio Sarri, who is the here and now for the Biancocelesti. Two very talented coaches, two very gifted sides, and hopefully an entertaining game of football in the offing this evening at San Siro. Milan are certainly full of confidence after that rousing display in the derby. Olivier Giroud and Mike Maignan grabbed all the headlines, but there were standout performances all across the board. Not that Lazio necessarily underperformed. Their 3-0 win at Fiorentina was impressive as well. Alessio Romagnoli, a boyhood Lazio supporter, came through the Roma Academy, however, but he is very much synonymous with Milan now. Ciro Immobile, Lazio's main man and top scorer as always. Simone Sozza is our match official this evening. There is the full lineup of the refereeing team with Davide Massa, our video assistant referee, watching on from Lissone, just outside Monza. Pioli makes two changes to the 11 that began the derby win on Saturday. Brahim Diaz and Junior Messias both impressed as second-half substitutes and are rewarded with starting berths at the expense of Benacer and Salamakis. Kessié drops back into his normal position. Rebic is fit enough for the bench. 5 alterations for Lazio from the team that won in Florence. Reina plays in goal, just as he did in the previous round, while the other new faces are Hussein, Basic, Cataldi and Felipe Anderson. Strakosha, Lazzari, Lucas, Luis Alberto and Pedro all drop to the bench. Stefano Pioli recorded that all-important derby win on Saturday to keep his side's title credentials alive. Maurizio Sarri has said that his team are in no man's land in terms of the Serie A table. They can't afford to turn their noses up at any competition, which is why they will be targeting another Coppa Italia success. Victors in 2019 under Simone Inzaghi most recently. We're up and running at San Siro. Home colours de rigueur. It's the Rossoneri of Milan up against the Biancocelesti of Lazio. And immediately, Brahim Diaz finds Giroud and gets the return. Well watched by Luis Felipe, who is someone that Roberto Mancini will be keeping tabs on tonight. Luis Felipe was named in the recent training camp for Italy. At the end of January, there was an international break, albeit no UEFA internationals to actually play in. So Mancini called up a number of players, including the Brazilian-born Luis Felipe. The whistle's gone there because Giroud came back from an offside position. Marušić, Cataldi. Milan going to press with Junior Messias and Patrick forced backwards. Reina has now become the cup goalkeeper. He began the season as the man for Serie A. Eventually got dropped after that crazy 4-all home draw against Udinese. Strakosha, who was the Europa League goalkeeper, now first choice for domestic matters, Coppa Italia notwithstanding. These two teams have had to negotiate one tie so far to make it to this stage of the Coppa Italia. Remember, this is the quarter-finals. Junior Messias. Lovely poise on the ball. Kessié. Theo Hernandez. He was caught late by Felipe Anderson. It will be a free kick to Milan. And a promising opportunity, perhaps, inside the first couple of minutes. Fair to say that challenge was nowhere near as stern as the lunge that Theo Hernandez produced on Denzel Dumfries, from which he got sent off in added time of the derby. Took one for the team. He will be suspended against Sampdoria on Sunday, hence why he starts tonight. But you do get the impression that Stefano Pioli would have named a very strong team regardless. Tonali coming across to provide another option from the set piece. In it comes from Junior Messias. Only half cleared there by Patrick, but Basic collects. Giroud stops him from clearing. These two teams began their respective Coppa Italia Frecciarossa campaigns at the last 16 stage, having finished in the top 8 of Serie A last season. Brahim Diaz, nice feed. He can release Calabria. Plenty of teammates wait in the box. And Reina prevents the concession of a corner. Milan got past Genoa here by 3-1, albeit after extra time. Giroud, Rafael Leao and Salamanca's the scorers on that particular occasion. Lazio also required an extra 30 minutes for Immobile's winner. And here is Immobile away from Kalulu. First sighter for the league's joint top scorer. Clipped forward by Teo Hernandez, flicked on by Giroud, but easy enough for Marusic. Milan beginning to get all of their players back now from the treatment table. Ante Rebic, a big boost amongst the substitutes. They're still without Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Picked up that Achilles problem against Juventus. Zaccagni has done really well. Kalulu played the ball. Good tempo to begin proceedings here. Milan got the better of Lazio when the sides met here right at the start of the season in the league. Goals from Rafael Leao and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Tomori's inclusion on the bench for the derby was also a big boost for Milan. We won't see him necessarily for too much of the match tonight, but Pioli will be keen to reintegrate the Englishman into the starting 11 as soon as possible. Sampdoria, the next visitors, on the back of a rousing 4-0 win over Sassuolo and bolstered by the signing of Sebastian Giovinco. Calabria, good take from Tonali. He's got Kessié in support. Instead, Tonali keeps it. Here is Kessié now. Rafael Leao. Teo Hernandez. Kessié, difficult ball to thread through towards Junior Messias. Milinkovic-Savic needs to be careful, so too does Immobile. And Milan have won it back. Tonali. Rafael Leao can't find Kessié. Cataldi for Immobile. And Milinkovic-Savic felt a hand to the face from Kessié. That's why the whistle's gone. Painful one for the Serbian. There's the Lazio sporting director, Iglitare, who was fairly busy as ever during the January transfer window. Lazio often criticised by their supporters for a relative lack of ambition in terms of the way they spend their money. Zaccagni. Marusic now, keen to get a cross in. Immobile. Felipe Anderson didn't quite gamble. It was Milinkovic-Savic who pulled into a pocket of space on the edge of the box. Teo Hernandez. This game was curious because before 9 o'clock yesterday, so just over 24 hours ago, we were speculating as to whether we might see a Rome derby in the Coppa Italia semi-final or a Milan derby. The prospect of a derby della capitale has now gone awry. Roma's elimination last evening by Inter, but we could yet see 2 installments of the Derby della Madonnina. Brahim Diaz. Nice build-up to begin that move from Milan. Eventually just slightly overhit by the Spaniard. Cataldi. Felipe Anderson can't keep it in play. There is the Milan senior management, Ivan Gazidis alongside Ricky Massara and Paolo Maldini. Cleared away by Maignan, one of the real stand-up performers of the derby. Several important saves, particularly in the first half. Brahim Diaz winning the ball back high up the pitch. Well in by Patrick, his compatriot. Felipe Anderson, Milinkovic-Savic. For once, Immobile wasn't peeling into the space behind. Romagnoli famously scored a winning penalty to knock out Lazio in the semi-finals of this competition in 2018. These 2 sides have frequently met in this competition. Lazio won here the last time they met in the quarter-finals. That was 2015. Lucas Biglia scored a penalty for Lazio. He would later join Milan in his career. Immobile. But Lazio, one of only 3 sides to have won this competition in the last decade. 5 triumphs for Juventus, a trio of victories for Napoli, and Lazio with a couple of trophies themselves, winners in 2019 and 2013. But Napoli are out. There's no guarantee Juventus will necessarily get past Sassuolo tomorrow, albeit they will start as favourites. Either way, that's the other side of the draw. Those teams can wait. Whoever prevails here will have to get the better of Inter over 2 legs. No mean feat. The reigning Serie A champions, the holders of the Super Cup as well, looking to collect all 3 pieces of domestic silverware simultaneously. Kalulu, Calabria. Tonali well closed down by Adam Marušić. Calabria, Giroud. Kessié keeps it moving. Felipe Anderson very nearly nipped in there to pinch possession. Theo Hernandez, that's nicely done. Junior Messias, his eyes lit up there. Junior Messias, and still Kessié! Straight down the goalkeeper's throat. Reina got everything behind it, but that's more like it from Milan. The twinkle toes of Junior Messias, it was only half cleared by Patrick, and Kessié certainly got hold of it. Just needed to send it either side of Reina, and Milan might well have been in business. Franck Kessié was at the Africa Cup of Nations with Côte d'Ivoire. Milan have another winner of that competition, Benacer, previously won it with Algeria. Lazio taking chances again, building out from the back. It's Fodé Ballo-Touré of Senegal, the backup left-back, who's now an African champion. Zaccagni, well in Theo Hernandez, but he's given it away to Immobile. Husai wants the ball, eventually gets it. Felipe Anderson. Husai can deliver, and it's easy enough for Maignan. Milan did the damage against Inter in transition. Here goes Junior Messias. Was he impeded? Zaccagni saying he got the ball. Basic looking a little sheepish, but the referee Simone Sozza happy for play to continue. Calmly done by Reina. That's always been one of the main strengths of his game, his ability to distribute the ball with his feet. That was the challenge there from Basic, and then Patrick and Zaccagni came closing in. Just there, perhaps Basic did just catch the left heel of Junior Messias. Stefano Pioli unhappy that Rafael Leao didn't make himself an option there. Milan almost reluctantly went back to Maignan, who received some praise from his predecessor today in the Italian press. There was a reveal-all interview with Ciccio Donnarumma. Said he has been impressed by Maignan's exploits thus far. Appears to have worked out well for all parties. Donnarumma thriving in Paris. Theo Hernandez, Rafael Leao, Theo once more. And that's going to be a yellow card for Luis Felipe. And with it, he would miss the first leg of the semi-final should Lazio make it that far. Clear contact on Theo Hernandez. It's all about the searing pace of the Frenchman that we have seen time and time again this season and in previous campaigns as well. If Lazio were to go out tonight, Luis Felipe would serve that ban at the start of their next campaign, which would presumably be at the last 16 stage, provided Lazio can finish in the top 8. No guarantee of that this season, given how well Fiorentina are doing. But now Milan have a chance from the set piece. Giroud certainly a threat, so too Romagnoli and the likes of Kalulu. Junior Messias with the free kick, headed away by Milinkovic-Savic, who is brilliant in the air. Tonali sends it back in and sends it way over the top. Luis Felipe, incidentally, one of a spate of players that were a caution away from suspension if they were to get booked tonight. Husai, Patrick, Cataldi and Felipe Anderson, the others that are starting. Milan could be without Tonali for a semi-final first leg against Inter, should they A, win, and B, should the number 8 be shown a yellow card. Zaccagni, Basic. But credit to Luis Felipe and indeed Patrick. Lazio have been excellent in recent times. Defensively, it's 4 straight clean sheets. They've not conceded since they last came to this ground, a 2-1 defeat to Inter on the 9th of January. Basic, that'll be a corner. Kalulu making the challenge. Maignan wants Rafael Leao on the post. He eventually reluctantly makes his way over there. We have seen some corners scored directly so far this season, Quadrado and Çalhanoğlu. Cataldi takes the set piece. Maignan punches away to good effect. And that was ambitious from Basic. too many meaningful opportunities in the opening 18 minutes, a world away from what we saw last evening between Inter and Roma. The Nerazzurri taking the lead inside 2 minutes, rattling the bar inside half a dozen, and eventually going on to win by 2-0. Strikes from Edin Dzeko and Alexis Sanchez. And it's Inter who await either Milan or Lazio. Semi-finals, the only round of the Coppa Italia which has stayed with the old format of two-legged ties. Pierre Kalulu, who had a good game against Inter, he has really stepped up in the absence of Kier and Tomori. Really good piece of business to bring him in from Lyon. Junior Messias, that's cleverly done. Now Giroud. Rafael Leao demanding the ball from Romagnoli. Rafael Leao with the pace. And he very nearly slipped in Brahim Diaz. And Kessier, in his hurry to try and find Theo Hernandez, has overhit the pass. There is the man described as a caged lion by Stefano Pioli. Certainly the animal comparison is one that Ibrahimovic has actively encouraged himself, but caged because he's frustrated that his body is not quite responding as it used to. Marušić. Nice pace from Zaccagni. Marušić once more. Milan want the flag against Mattia Zaccagni, and the assistant obliges. There is a big gulf between these two teams when it comes to the domestic standings. Milan on 52 points, just one off the summit, but they are 13 points clear of Lazio, down on 39 in 6th spot. 2 wins behind Juventus, who occupy the final Champions League place. But there are a couple of 6-pointers coming up this weekend. Napoli, Inter, and Juventus, Atalanta. Or rather, Atalanta, Juventus. Junior Messias has won a free kick off Patrick. Lovely drop of the shoulder there by the Brazilian, and Patrick was already committed to the challenge. Perhaps fortunate not to get a card himself. Join his centre-back colleague, Luis Felipe, in the book. They have very often been cagey affairs, these Coppa Italia meetings between Milan and Lazio. There was the winning goal in 2019 in the semi-final second leg from Joaquin Correa. Tonali with the set piece. Rafael Leao waits. Lovely piece of control. Can he stand up across? Zaccagni, did that catch his arm? The assistant is unmoved, but there were a few murmurs there of appeals from the San Siro faithful. Tonali now is going to get a yellow card. And Milan's one player, booking away from suspension, has picked up the yellow card he could ill afford for this cynical tug on Zaccagni. Well, they might have a case there. It did appear to brush the forearm of Zaccagni, albeit it was down by his side. Two bookings are all that's required to get suspended in the Coppa Italia, which is fair enough given the top 8 sides are seeded and have a relatively short route to a piece of silverware. Round of 16, a quarter-final, a two-legged semi, and then the final, which last season was played at the Mapei Stadium in Reggio Emilia. Theo Hernandez barged off the ball by Felipe Anderson, and Milinkovic-Savic suggesting it was shoulder to shoulder and didn't warrant a free kick. Brahim Diaz. Cleverly done by Giroud. That's Rafael Leao. Teo Hernandez. Rafael Leao once more. Chance to switch in. And he finds Calabria. Patience will be a virtue tonight for both teams. Lovely ball from Romagnoli. Rafael Leao in the clear to give Milan the lead. It is all about the quality of the pass. And Rafael Leao, who scored in the round of 16, has backed the opener here in the quarter-final. Composure personified, but how about the defence-splitting pass from the captain? There didn't appear to be much on here for Alessio Romagnoli, but watch this. Wonderful weight, perfect direction, and just one touch for Rafael Leao to get the ball out of his feet and roll it past Reina. And it's the Rossoneri up and running here, courtesy of Rafael Leao, goal number 9 for the season. It was he who gave Milan the lead against Genoa in extra time, but it's taken just the first half of this opening period here for Milan to break through. And the Rossoneri riding on the crest of a wave. Lazio need to respond. They've come full circle. Their previous goal they had conceded was here at San Siro. That came against Inter when two centre-backs scored, Skriniar and Bastoni, but it's a conventional forward for the Milan fans who are bouncing now. And what a week it could yet prove to be if they can triumph here and then see off Sampdoria on the same ground. Cataldi clips it in, Magnon's come a long way, and it was the right decision. Rarely seems to put a foot wrong, but he has quite literally there, in that he's come down heavily on the back of his head. Nothing more than a minor bounce. Bump to his bonds, shall we say. There, Rafael Leao showing how much his game has improved. He has added a lot more end product. The finesse and flair has always been present. Hussein wanted a flag, but Lazio didn't get their line right. And Alessio Romagnoli, who has been much maligned, he is the club captain. He has also been performing well in recent times, but there was a period when it was Tomori and Kier, but Romagnoli has reminded everyone what he's capable of. Junior Messias, away by Patrick. This is Tonali. And now Kessier, the experiment with him at number 10 against Inter. Didn't work as well as it had done under Castellani against Empoli when he scored twice. Kessier playing in that double pivot once again tonight alongside Sandro Tonali. Rafael Leao. Once again, seeking out Junior Messias, who's always keen to receive the ball. This time the flag does go up, but if Milan were to have chosen, they would have preferred to have seen it on this chance as opposed to the one from which Rafael Leao gave them the lead. Patrick made to hurry by Giroud. No foul by Calabria on Zaccagni. Zaccagni, who was at one stage a target for the Rossoneri after his exploits with Hellas Verona. Napoli also had a look at him, but eventually Lazio decided to take the plunge, and Zaccagni has found a bit of form, particularly in recent times. Zaccagni came up with an assist at Fiorentina, scored against Genoa, and away at Sassuolo. Curiously, 3 of his 4 goals this season have come against the Neroverdi, albeit 2 of them were for Hellas Verona, brace on the opening day. Kessier. Felipe Anderson snapping away at his heels. He's been doing overtime for Lazio this season. This is game 32. 27th start for the Brazilian. Sarri is loath to do without him. Kalulu. Tonali. Calabria dropping the shoulder. Rafael Leao keeps it moving. This is Theo Hernandez. Well in by Milinkovic-Savic. But Brahim Diaz has regained possession. Rafael Leao now. Milan know the importance of scoring twice in quick succession and maximising their moment in the ascendancy. They certainly did that to good effect against Inter. Giroud scoring twice in 3 minutes, just as Ibrahimovic had done the previous time that Inter had been defeated at home in the league. An eerie symmetry to those 2 defeats for the Nerazzurri, bookending a 28-game home unbeaten run, but Milan twice the thorn in their cross-city rival side. Tonali with the pace. Can he tee up a teammate? Instead he wins a corner off Patrick. Well, that the perfect example of the dynamism that Sandro Tonali provides. And Latta de Gattuso. Milan looking for a second on the half-hour mark. Junior Messias curls it in. Reina gathers at the second attempt. Reina should be in goal for when Lazio travel to the Dragão a week tomorrow. It's the first leg of their Europa League playoff against Porto. Porto, who are in the same Champions League group as Milan. Did Felipe Anderson catch Theo Hernandez there? The Frenchman has certainly stayed down. And this will be of concern for Milan. Yes, Theo is suspended. There you see, it was Cataldi who ended up just accidentally treading on the Frenchman. Theo Hernandez will miss the Sampdoria game through suspension, but the same was true of Bastoni against Napoli, and he got injured last night. Another look at that gorgeous disguise on the pass from Romagnoli. And it was the weight on the pass which made it into a very presentable opportunity for Rafael Leao. They were never likely to catch him, and Maurizio Sarri and Giovanni Martuscillo at a loss as to explain that blackout defensively. So far so good for the Rossoneri, seeking a first triumph since 2003. And they also won the Champions League. They were beaten finalists in 2016 and 2018. Curiously, the odd numbers in that sequence, 2015 and 2017, saw Lazio lose at the final hurdle. That was the 4-year period when Max Allegri guided Juventus to League and Cup doubles. These two sides felt like they were always the bridesmaids and never the bride. And Lazio have since gone on to win this competition. Romagnoli, that's risky. Kalulu there to back him up. And a thumbs up from the captain. Rafael Leao told to go back the required distance there from Hussein as he looks to take the throw. Milinkovic-Savic. Hussein finds the cross. Ball appeared to go beyond the byline. Indeed it did. It will be a goal kick. Clipped forward by Calabria. Lazio certainly missing the guile of Luis Alberto, but they have some very capable players, including Milinkovic-Savic and Immobile in the side, but Pedro has been prolific. That's nicely done to build out from the back. Luis Felipe wanted too long, needed a shout of man on from his teammates, which never came. Theo Hernandez. Not the best ball back to him from Rafael Leao. This is Cataldi. Basic. Lazio's next league game is at home to Bologna. Do have some winnable matches coming up. The trip to Udine will be a chance for revenge after that ludicrous 8-goal draw. Last gasp equaliser from Tolgay Arslan after somehow Lazio had got back into a 4-3 lead and still managed to squander a couple of points. It's been the story of their season. Two poorest defensively. Immobile. Felipe Anderson. That was a difficult ball to play and didn't come off. Rafael Leao in a pocket of space. But for once he wanted too long. It's not been a game rich in quality. Milinkovic-Savic has provided some though, and that's surely a penalty. Well, no, in fact, Immobile didn't even appeal. He latched onto it, tried to loop it over Maignan, went down, but didn't even look towards the referee to suggest that he was impeded. Just there, was there contact between Maignan and Immobile? Doesn't appear so. Credit to the Lazio skipper for picking himself up and dusting himself off, and Maignan did well to get out of the way. Came herring off his line to get ahead of Hakan Çalhanoğlu in the derby. But a warning nonetheless for Milan. Junior Messias, and it's here for Giroud. Nearly broke for the Frenchman. All of his goals, incidentally, have come on this ground for Milan. Cataldi. Immobile. Felipe Anderson. Just under 10 minutes to play until the break. Lazio short on ideas in the final third, yet to really challenge Maignan. Zaccagni. It's a foul against the Lazio man for handing off Calabria. Perhaps just the flailing left arm from Zaccagni, but it looked like Calabria had given as good as he'd got. Zaccagni needs to be careful because sentiments such as those got Nicolò Zaniolo a straight red card in the game between Roma and Empoli at the weekend. Theo Hernandez. Junior Messias, lovely take. And it's his ball towards Giroud. Well played, Luis Felipe. But Marusic completely caught in his heels there. Simply by the timing of the touch from Junior Messias. Basic needs to be careful. He's lost it to Calabria. And it's still Calabria. Giroud could have let that run, potentially, with Rafael Leao behind him. He wasn't to know. Zaccagni. Holding off Kalulu, his opposite number. Zaccagni needed a helping hand. Very few blue shirts around him. Basic. Calabria not only won the challenge, he won the throw too. Toma Basic. Just wonder whether Lazio could have been a touch bolder with their team selection. The inclusion of Basic and Cataldi, perhaps not what the doctor ordered necessarily, albeit Cataldi more mobile these days than Lucas Leiva, but Luis Alberto a big miss. Pedro has been lethal since his arrival. Miscued by Cataldi, straight into touch. For once, Maignan overhits a kick. That's been an impressive facet of his play since he joined from Lille. If you're to believe paper reports, Milan determined to do more business with the reigning French champions. Talk about Botman and Renato Sanchez. Milan in danger of potentially losing another pair of big hitters on Bosmans. Romagnoli and Kessier both out of contract at the end of the season, yet to agree terms with the club. Kalulu. Giroud. Junior Messias. Patrick came herring back. Lazio need to provide greater service to Ciro Immobile. It's Rafael Leao's goal midway through this first half, which still separates the two sides. Patrick looking for an option. Basic provides it. But Milan's press working to good effect. Eventually, Patrick has to reluctantly go long and cede possession. Cataldi for Felipe Anderson. Romagnoli there this time to back up Kalulu, just as the Frenchman did for his skipper earlier on. Forward by Calabria. Giroud not quite on the same page. Luis Felipe. Basic has given it away. This is Brahim Diaz. And look at Rafael Leao to his left. Here he is now for his second. Glorious drop of the shoulder. And he puts it on a plate for Giroud. That goal all about Rafael Leao and his unique gifts as a footballer. And Milan double their lead just before the break. Applause of appreciation from Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But handshakes and high fives all round. It was Brahim Diaz who picked up possession. And then Rafael Leao just rolled it into Giroud. A much easier finish than either of his strikes in the derby. And fresh from scoring a brace against Inter, Giroud has yet another goal in Milan colours. And once again, it comes on this ground. 9 for the Rossoneri, 9 on the back of his shirt, and all 9 have come here. Well, if you are a striker, you want a teammate like Rafael Leao. That dummy was absolutely exquisite. The disguise, the body shape, the balance and athleticism, he is almost one of a kind. Milan certainly struggle when he's unavailable or slightly out of form, but he appears to be hitting his stride just as we move into the business end of the season. Away by Romagnoli. Well in by Luis Filippi. This is Immobile looking to turn, but Kessié there to double up with Kalulu. And Milan now want a third to kill off the tie before the interval. Tonali. Rafael Leao again, he's away from Husai. Luis Filippi just able to take it off his toes, but no wonder he's playing with a smile on his face. Scored the opener, teed up the second, and Lazio absolutely petrified of the Portuguese every time he picks up possession. Kessié. Calabria. Momentum can be a magical thing in football, and Milan certainly have it now. All thanks to that brace from Olivier Giroud, a quick-fire double to sink into. They're once again playing with freedom we haven't necessarily seen since the start of the campaign. Still got Rebic and Tomori and Ibrahimovic to return. Luis Filippi. Incisive ball forward from Patrick. Husai. There shouldn't be too much in the way of added time. It's been fairly open. The ball has been in play more often than not. Credit to both sides for that. Shouldn't imagine there'll be much more than 60 seconds added on by Simone Sozza. Zaccagni around the corner, Immobile looking for Basic, he'll get there too. And here is Zaccagni now. Well, he wanted a teammate in the middle. Had he known, he would have almost reluctantly gone for goal himself, but the angle was always against him. Giroud trying to pin Patrick, it's a lovely flick on. Brahim Diaz now, with Rafael Leao to his left. Still Brahim Diaz. Theo Hernandez for Giroud! And the tie has been put to bed, surely, before we even reach the interval. 2 against Inter, 2 against Lazio, double figures for the club. And surely he will get the chance once again to make his mark against Inter. The Biancocelesti in disarray, and Milan have found a new hero. The Frenchman is on fire. Well played, Brahim Diaz could have easily played in Rafael Leao. Instead he waited for Theo Hernandez. And Marusic completely lost track of Giroud. It is a finish as equally simple as his earlier strike. Just had to tuck it past Reina. The spin nearly took it wide, but Giroud, once again, in the right place at the right time. And Milan are headed for the semi-finals, and Inter beware. Stefano Pioli liking what he sees against his former club. With that, it will surely be the half-time whistle from Simone Sozza. Relentless from the Rossoneri. Rafael Leao sent them on their way, but Olivier Giroud with a couple of goals once again in quick succession, just as he did against Inter, has made it a mountain to climb for the Biancocelesti. Milan have 1 foot in the last 4. At the break at San Siro, the half-time scoreline reads Milan 3, Lazio 0. Just the one change then for the start of this second half. Lazio keeping faith with the starting side that underwhelmed in the opening 45 minutes. And Giroud is on a hat-trick. A brace against Cagliari and a brace against Inter. Now a double against Lazio. Plus goals against Verona, Torino, Roma and Genoa in the previous round. They've all come here. How we would love to go home with the match ball and score 5 goals in just 4 short days. That would be quite the story. Seems to be something in the water on this side of Milan. Ibrahimovic seemingly timeless. Giroud equally evergreen. Romagnoli. Benasser, his first touch is to retrieve possession. Calabria, Brahim Diaz. He really has a new lease of life now. Brilliant start to the season. 4 goals in his opening 8 matches, and now it's time for the Biancocelesti changes. And whilst Brahim Diaz is still waiting for that goal, which is long overdue, came at Spezia in late September, he is once again a key contributor. Demonstrated as much against Inter, he's showcased it again tonight against Lazio. Do wonder whether Strakosha might have been able to keep out that first effort from Rafael Leao. Whilst it was well placed, it wasn't necessarily irresistible. Calmly cushioned back to his goalkeeper by Calabria. Flicked on by Rafael Leao. Cataldi there to pick up the pieces. Well, the other side from the capital last evening were left clinging to the UEFA Europa Conference League as their only possibility of a trophy. It looks like Lazio will have to target the Europa League if they are to pick up a 7th piece of silverware in the Lotito reign. Unless Felipe Anderson, away from Theo Hernandez. And Zaccagni wasn't really in a position to be able to finish. It is just a corner, but a flash of inspiration from Felipe Anderson. Milan will know that Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is the main threat here. He is exceptional in the air. Cataldi sends it in, away by Giroud. Basic, Hussein. Clipped forward by Marusic. Lovely ball for Cataldi. Immobile keeps it in play. Still a chance potentially for the visitors. Immobile. That's Zaccagni. Eventually Benasser gets it to safety. Marusic. We are going to see Luis Alberto and Pedro very shortly. The Spanish duo joined by Lucas Leiva. Lazio brought in a couple of new faces during the January transfer window. Dimitri Kamenovic is one, Jovan from Sporting the other. Here's Brahim Diaz, and now Giroud seeking that hat-trick. He ended up impeding his opponent there. Sportingly very quick to apologise. Cataldi for Lucas, that's like for like. Felipe Anderson for Pedro. Similar positions, the pair. And Toma Basic, the third player to be withdrawn. If Lazio are to complete an incredible comeback, they would need to start scoring sooner rather than later, you think? Zaccagni between the lines, slightly behind Marusic. Luis Alberto for the first time. Immobile, well aware of where Pedro lay. Rafael Leao back doing the covering defending to see off whose side, but he's lost it to Pedro, who just about took the ball into touch. Quite the season for Pedro in Lazio colours. Made a very controversial switch from Roma to Lazio, but certainly backed up the faith in him from the Biancocelesti. Got his goal against the Giallorossi. Since then has chipped in with a further 7. He has the same number of goals as Milinkovic-Savic. Here's Patrick. Luis Alberto. Stabbed wide by Benacer. Winnable matches coming up for Milan. Could yet seize the Serie A summit. Sampdoria at home, a trip to Salerno to take on one of the struggling sides in the shape of Salernitana, and then they'll host Udinese here. They'll be keen to exact revenge after they only just snatched a point at the Dacia Arena thanks to a late goal from Ibrahimovic. Wide by Patrick. Here's Zaccagni. Luis Alberto. Did well to readjust and play the ball against Calabria. Luis Alberto unhappy, and Simone Sozza telling him to placate the assistant. Try and take the sting out of his protestations, which was certainly vehement. Lazio feel they're being shortchanged by the match official here. Pioli has one fewer selection decision to make for that semi-final first leg against Inter if Milan do get the job done here. Tonali won't be available because of that ban, so presumably it will be Benacer and Kessié unless Krunic is required. That's a foul by Benacer on Luis Alberto. As ever, there is a big gap between the first and second legs of the Coppa Italia semi-finals. We'll have the first leg at the start of March, the second towards the back end of April. Lazio know that their two-legged tie against Porto will not feature away goals. Maurizio Sarri spoke about that recently, said that the players are playing too much and that matches are more likely to go to extra time in the absence of the away goals rule. He might have a point. 4 of the 8 round of 16 ties went the distance, incidentally. Both of these sides are involved in such fixtures. Milan against Genoa, Lazio against Udinese, the other teams that were taken into an extra 30 minutes. Inter here against Empoli, and Napoli were eventually beaten 5-2 by Fiorentina after extra time. Kalulu. Giroud with the flick on. Junior Messias will keep it in play, and he'll wait for Giroud to join in. Junior Messias. And now Calabria thought about the shot. Junior Messias needed more flight on the ball to really interest Giroud. Kalulu's touch heavy. Pedro with the poise. Luis Alberto, good ball for Lucas. That's Immobile, and now Milinkovic-Savic. Hussein, who scored 1 goal in all his time for Empoli, more than 100 appearances, 1 goal for Napoli, more than 200 games, and he got his quota for Lazio inside his 2nd appearance for the Biancocelesti, so who knows if more is to come from the Albanian. Luis Alberto. Zaccagni. Better spell this from Lazio, but it is still patient possession rather than any real proper probing. And eventually they've lost the ball. Calabria immediately gifts it back. Luis Alberto, Immobile, crowded out by Kalulu. But Milan have once again ceded possession. This is Pedro. And still, Pedro, straight at the goalkeeper. But that's more like it. That's what Sarri will want to see. Someone taking the initiative, taking it upon themselves to try and hurt Milan, as Rafael Leao will try and do here towards Lazio. Luis Alberto has already been booked, and the referee decides to spare him a 2nd caution. Clemency, the policy from Simone Sozza, but feasibly that could have easily been another caution. And Lazio could have well been down to 10 men there. Another look at this. Pedro taking the long route round and eventually fashioning the space he needed to get the shot away. Milan will look to manage their energy levels here whilst maintaining their advantage and keeping hold of the clean sheet. It is a busy period of matches, but their midweek endeavours will cease for a while once this game is negotiated. Away by Hussein. Teo Hernandez collects the loose ball. Benacer. Kessier. Junior Messias driving at Zaccagni. Brahim Diaz now. Calabria's cross. Too much on it for Giroud on this occasion. And Hussein steps away from Rafael Leao. Milinkovic-Savic, that was a careless, heavy touch. Not something we normally associate with the Sergeant. Had been a good run of results for Lazio coming into this game. 3 wins and a draw from their previous 4, albeit they would have had some regrets about that stalemate at home to Atalanta. just before the international break. That's because Atalanta were absolutely decimated by illness and injury, and yet Lazio could scarcely break them down. The return of Ante Rebic about to be a reality. Kessier wanted too long, but Immobile adjudged to have bundled him over. Olivier Giroud will get another standing ovation. A double in the derby, a brace against the Biancocelesti. Double figures now, and Ibrahimovic's absence is not being keenly felt at all. It's barely registered, in fact. Junior Messias, the other man who makes way. Salamaca's thrown on. A big applause for Ante Rebic. Lazzari for Hussein. Change at fullback for Lazio. Rebic only mustered a quarter of an hour against Juventus. Did, however, play more than an hour in the game against Genoa. They're going to try and gently get him back to full fitness, because he hasn't played anywhere near as much as he would have liked, anywhere near as much as Stefano Pioli would have wanted him to. But now operating at centre forward. Not necessarily his best position if you follow Stefano Pioli's press conferences. But he is adept at cutting in off the flank and also leading the line, which is what he'll do for what remains of this game. Pedro. Marusic. Zaccagni trying to square up Calabria. Zaccagni's cross, away by Teo Hernandez. This is Immobile, asking for a penalty for handball. He also felt he was caught late as he got the shot away. Immobile's in serious pain here, but Rafael Leao continues for the moment. Lazio calling for the Rossoneri to put the ball into touch. And Roberto Mancini watching on from the stands. The Italy head coach will be concerned. Immobile just kicked against Kalulu in the end. Another fabulous season for Ciro Immobile. 22 goals in this his 28th game. 27 of them have come from the first whistle. Three-time Cannoniere, 2013-14, 2017-18. And then 2019-20, that sensational season when he scored 36 goals. And now he's neck and neck with Dusan Vlahovic. And Immobile, speaking on behalf of the entire team there, Lazio don't feel that the referee has necessarily given them their fair share of decisions. Well, he's not one to milk it. And the way he's hobbling leads us to think that Ciro Immobile will play no further part in this game. Not sure Kalulu did a lot wrong. It was just Immobile following through and colliding with the Frenchman. But the game is essentially over, short of a stunning comeback for the Biancocelesti, so they may as well try and begin his treatment now. There you can see the physio said, hang on a minute, ha preso una botta, so he's taken a knock. It is not a muscle injury, it's whether they can allow him to just walk it off. But for the moment, the visitors down to 10 men. Sarri going across to personally inquire as to how Immobile is feeling. Roberto Mancini not looking impressed. Immobile has now taken up his case with the fourth official, Francesco Questo, who had the delight of taking charge of a first Serie A match in his career in the game between Bologna and Empoli on Sunday. Sarri, however, has sent for a substitute. Doesn't look like Immobile is going to resume. Forward by Kalulu. Patrick needs to be careful. So too does Reina. Luis Felipe. Pedro looking for options. Not too many of those presented themselves. Milinkovic-Savic. Marusic streaming ahead of Zaccagni. Here is Marusic now. Lazio ready with Raul Moro, the man earmarked to replace Immobile. Milan continue to press, albeit not as ferociously as they did in the opening 45 minutes. Lazio unhappy the pass never came on the far side. Zaccagni. Marusic. Patrick. Lazio might be minded to try and get the ball into touch so they can actually be restored to their full complement of 11 players. Raul Moro still waiting to be sent on, but the Biancocelesti have the ball. It's patiently done and nicely worked. Milinkovic-Savic for Lazio. Still Lazio, he's got half a yard. Instead, he's just lost the momentum and also lost possession to Salamakers. Now Zaccagni saying there was a stamp there from the Belgian. Salamakers quick to say that wasn't the case. And the referee's attention is being called here to what Lazio feel was there, a stamp from Salamakers on Manuel Lazzari. Only Salamakers will know whether he deliberately left one in there on the former Spout player, but now trying to clear the air. Raul Moro then will presumably play up front unless Pedro operates as a false nine. Now Zaccagni getting details of the tactical switch from Sarri's number 2, Martuscello. The sergeant is now the skipper. Milinkovic-Savic takes the armband. As you can see, Raul Moro is playing wide. Pedro, who has operated as a false nine to good effect. It's a bit of a misnomer, playing as a false nine despite having that squad number. Lazzari always got that wonderful pace. Still a quarter of the contest remaining. But Lazio looking dead and buried, essentially. A goal now could yet make things interesting. Luis Alberto takes it quickly. Milinkovic-Savic. Kalulu's clearance wasn't the most convincing, but Milan still have the ball. Brahim Diaz. Rebic now. The red shirts are bombing forward. Theo Hernandez on the unfamiliar right side. Still Theo Hernandez. The benefit of him playing on the right is that they can cut in on his left, and he very nearly did that to good effect. Marusic lost it momentarily to Benacer. And that is a corner off Luis Alberto. Well, we are being spoilt this season. 2 great derby della Madonninas already, and 2 more forthcoming. Salamanca's teasing it in. Rebic still a little rusty. Gorgeous cross from Salamanca's. He almost seemed to mistime his jump there, Ante Rebic. Was on the way back down by the time he met the ball. No foul by Teo Hernandez, at least initially, but then the referee, having pondered it, decided it did warrant a free kick the way of the visitors. Lazzari, dealt with by Romagnoli, cleared away by Rafael Leao, and now Brahim Diaz will be unhappy with Salamanca's. Pedro, Luis Alberto, this is Raul Moro. Salamanca's clearly the one at fault there. Brahim Diaz, having produced the Cruyff turn to get away from his opponent, was well within his rights to continue with the ball, and Salamanca's tried to take it off his toes, albeit the latter was running onto the ball at greater pace. But there, 2 players going for the same ball, and you can understand why Brahim feels aggrieved. Much was made of Milan's exit from Europe altogether, that they could focus on the league. They'll still have the cup to deal with. Raul Moro now testing Kalulu for pace. It's poked behind for a corner, and Kalulu's reaction shows you that he's disappointed with himself for losing the ball in the first instance. Possible 3 further fixtures in the Coppa Italia Frecciarossa. Next stop, once again this ground. Both Inter and Milan will play the bulk of their respective cup campaigns here. Luis Alberto with the corner, and Milinkovic-Savic's flick on, unable to find either the corner nor Patrick. Just for a moment there were shades of his opening goal in the 2019 Coppa Italia final. It was he who broke the deadlock against Atalanta before Correa scored late on. That was the Cup Lazio won under Simone Inzaghi. Teo Hernandez finding Salamanca's. It's a good ball for Brahim Diaz. His weight goes on for the goal. Luis Felipe with the block, and Teo Hernandez once more penalised, and he does have form in terms of his reactions, and Simone Sozza has been relatively generous at times tonight in the face of dissent, because Teo's certainly wearing an angry expression. Giacomo Morelli talking to his boss there, Milan's assistant coach, as they plot another substitution. Wide it goes from Lucas. Raul Moro and Marusic not quite on the same page. Shades of Salamanca's and Brahim Diaz there, albeit the Lazio version. Away by Calabria, miscued by Patrick, and so too Rebic. Zaccagni finds Milinkovic-Savic. This is Lazzari. Zaccagni tried to find Pedro. Romagnoli's had another good game. Not just the assist, defensively he's been good too, and once more he marauds forward just as he did for Milan's equaliser against Inter. Franck Kessié, Raphael Leão. It's not coming off for Rebic tonight. Bit of flair from Luis Alberto, and now he can find Raul Moro. Keeping Benacer at bay. He's done really well to find Pedro. And still Pedro. Didn't want to find Raul Moro again, instead looked to seek out the top corner. And his radar was way off. Romagnoli, with that lung-busting run forward, is now down on his haunches and might come off for Fikayo Tomori, but instead it's Raphael Leão who is replaced by Daniel Maldini. Instead it's Davide Calabria who's going to come off for Fikayo Tomori. Raphael Leão scored the opener, set up the second. And if he can maintain this form between now and May, Milan will have a big chance, not just of lifting the Coppa Italia, but also potentially being crowned champions as well. And a big ovation there for Fikayo Tomori. He damaged his meniscus in his knee against Genoa in the previous round of this competition. Had an operation just over 3 weeks ago, and he's already back in action. Credit to him for his rapid recovery, and the benefit of having Pierre Kalulu in the side is he is equally comfortable both at centre-back and at full-back. So Tomori joins Romagnoli in the heart of the defence. Good manners there from Raphael Leão, just asking Tatarusanu if the seat was taken. Not the man to mess with at 6'6", the second choice goalkeeper. Pedro. Zaccagni for Lazzari. Maignan there to gather very easily. Salamakers. Incidentally, with that goal, Olivier Giroud now has 3 in the competition. He's the joint top scorer, along with the likes of Dusan Vlahovic. Leonardo Mancuso also has that tally, albeit he is no longer involved in the competition. Alexis Sanchez got his second in the cup yesterday. That's why the whistle's gone. The foul from Milinkovic-Savic on Theo Hernandez. Vlahovic has the game in hand, however. He will continue his progress in the cup with Juventus, albeit Fiorentina, his former club, still alive and kicking. Maldini with the free kick. And that's Kessié! And it is number 4 for Milan. It has turned into a rout. Lazio didn't get the ball clear, and there is a goal for Franck Kessié as well. Back in front of the defensive line this evening, but still showing he has an eye for goal. Maldini's free kick not dealt with. Lucas couldn't clear either, and Kessié never likely to pass up that opportunity. Lashed past Reina before he could even respond. And Milan now lead by 4-0. All of his previous strikes had come in the league, and now Kessié opens his account in the 2021-22 Coppa Italia Frecciarossa. Zaccagni still giving dogged chase, but Lazio can't wait now for the final whistle, which is still 10 minutes away. And regardless of the speculation surrounding his future, Kessié will continue to give everything for the cause between now and the end of the campaign. Who knows whether silverware could yet potentially sweeten the deal and tempt him to stay. Feeling in these parts is that Milan won't be held to ransom, that they have a wage bill, a ceiling beyond which they are not willing to go. Purely asking the Lazio put the ball out, just as Milan did earlier on when Immobile had a problem. It's Alessio Romagnoli who's now down. And here's why. Trying to win the ball back off Pedro. Nice shape on the cross from Daniel Maldini. It was Luis Felipe who headed it against a teammate. Lucas then gave a half-hearted attempt at clearing the ball. Stefano Pioli certainly approves of what he's seen tonight. Quite a statement performance this from Milan. Brahim Diaz. And now Daniel Maldini, only ever scored once for Milan. Maldini goes for goal. And Reina able to hang on. We are witnessing the biggest winning margin since last season's top 8 began their campaigns in this competition. Juventus beat Sampdoria 4-1. Fiorentina prevailed 5-2 against Napoli. Those both 3-goal cushions, but we were yet to see a 4-goal winning margin, provided Milan don't concede. That's exactly what they're going to achieve tonight. Pedro. Luis Alberto asking for handball against Benacer. Tomori. This is Kessié. Now Franck Kessié holding his right hamstring. One to keep an eye on there, just as to how freely the Ivorian is able to move in the middle of the park. Theo Hernandez. Milan slowing the tempo. They won't be actively seeking a 5th goal, but they certainly wouldn't mind if another chance came their way, just as they did with the 4th goal. Luis Alberto. Simone Sozza is not the most experienced referee, which leads me to think he will be adding on time come the 90-minute mark. Perhaps a slightly longer in the tooth official might have decided to put Lazio out of their misery as soon as the clock strikes 90. Where did that defensive solidity go for Sarri? Plenty of notes about his side's frailties defensively tonight. They came into this match, a reminder, on the back of 4 straight clean sheets in all competitions, but never looked likely to extend that sequence of shutouts. Raul Moro is onside. Luis Alberto quickly closed down. That's more like it between Brahim and Salamakers. The ball didn't quite have enough pace on it to reach Maldini. Zaccagni. Lazzari. Firm challenge from Teo Hernandez, and a fair one, according to the assistant. And Lazzari seemingly giving his Spanish a bit of a try out there. Apologies if you were able to lip read any expletives. Brahim Diaz, Rebic calling for it, couldn't quite take it into his stride. Still a chance for Milan. Rebic, Brahim Diaz, Rebic once again. Seemed reluctant to shoot, caught in two minds. It's not the Ante Rebic of old for the moment. He will once again find his feet. Cleverly done by Alexis Salamakers. Zaccagni. Lazio's big players haven't turned up tonight. Immobile, yes, he got injured, but Milinkovic-Savic has been unusually quiet. Luis Alberto has been unable to impact the game. Benacer. Rebic. Holding off Patrick. Neat and tidy from Maldini. Rebic. Easily cut out by Milinkovic-Savic. That pass was rather telegraphed for Salamakers. The game almost being played at walking pace now. The result was never in doubt. As soon as Milan got that third before the break, the fourth, nothing more than an extra flourish. Long by Patrick. Milinkovic-Savic trying to give Romagnoli something to think about. Patrick did play a terrific long ball to Immobile in Florence. Nearly managed to repeat the trick there. Pedro up against Kessier, who tugged him from behind. Bologna next for the Biancocelesti. That will always be an interesting fixture anytime they come up against Sinisa Mihajlovic. Milan up against an old coach of their own, Marco Giampaolo. Lazzari wins a corner off Maldini. Marco Giampaolo with a spell to forget at the rossoneri helm, but Stefano Pioli has certainly won the hearts and minds of those fans. Amazing to think that there were dissenting voices and social media hashtags suggesting he should leave before he'd even joined. Luis Alberto with the corner. Milinkovic-Savic with the header. Patrick got there ahead of Benacer. Well played, Pedro. Benacer nudged from behind as we tick towards the final minute of the 90. And the party has already begun. Celebrations are underway. The Mexican waves are in full flow. It's a good time to be a Milan supporter. Victorious in the derby, and now sending out a message to their fellow members of the Seven Sisters. A real statement performance, this. Maignan looking for Salamakers. Marusic does the defending. Luis Felipe, Milinkovic-Savic. big question is, will Francesco Questo, the fourth official, be required to hold up a board with X number of minutes, or will Simone Sozza put Lazio out of their misery very shortly? Zaccagni. The answer, mercifully, is the latter. Milan just far too good tonight, on a completely different level to the Biancocelesti. The damage was done inside the first 45 minutes. Rafael Leao with the opener, Giroud with another brace, 4 days on from his double against Inter, and then Franck Kessié got in on the act towards the end. We have the scintillating prospect of 2 more Milan derbies to come in the last 4 of the Coppa Italia Frecciarossa. Lazio's campaign ends here, but Milan look a force to be reckoned with, not just in the league, but in the domestic cup as well. Final score at San Siro, Milan 4, Lazio 0.
A one-sided game from start to finish. Just once was Maignan tested, and even that it was a tame effort from Pedro. Milan doing all the damage in the first half. Rafael Leao setting them on their way. Giroud bagging a quick-fire double, just as he did against Inter. And then Franck Kessié unable to resist a gift-wrap goal late on. Lazio out of the Coppa Italia, Milan march on. Inter up next for them on the right-hand side of the draw. And highlights are coming up right for you in a few moments' time.
second of the Coppa Italia Frecciarossa quarter-finals. Milan up against Lazio, two sides who have met frequently in the past in this competition. The prize, a two-legged semi-final against Inter after their victory against Roma last evening. And Milan would take the lead midway through the first half. Romagnoli releasing Rafael Leao, and he rolled it past Reina to give the Rossoneri the advantage. On target against Genoa in the round of 16, and once more on the score sheet in the quarter-finals. Then Basic would be profligate in possession. Brahim Diaz scampered forward, found Rafael Leao, the drop of the shoulder out of this world, and Olivier Giroud with the simplest of tasks to make it 2-0 to Milan with 5 minutes remaining in the first half. But all about the set-up play from Rafael Leao. Giroud would then grab his second and Milan's third in added time at the end of the first period. Brahim Diaz once again heavily involved. Theo Hernandez this time with the assist, and Giroud tucking it into the corner. And the result was already beyond doubt before the half-time whistle had even been blown. There wasn't much to shout about in the second half. Pedro was sent on off the bench, and he eventually fashioned an opening. This was Lazio's only effort on target in the 90 minutes, and Maignan able to gather comfortably. Milinkovic-Savic would go close from a corner after Luis Alberto found his head, but it flashed wide. And eventually there was a fourth, 11 minutes remaining. Maldini's free kick not properly cleared, and there was Franck Kessié to rifle home from close range and make it Milan.